starting part 2 of Fire and Blood. What the heck is going on? We're figuring it out, okay? So I chopped off the top part of the family tree, stuff that we don't care about anymore, not important. Starting with this family, I actually added a couple things, just interesting. Aegon was married before he died. Interesting thing, Aegon, before he died, he was married. To who? His sister. Yay! They had other siblings too, but these are the 4 that we care about. They were both married to each other. Rhaena and Aegon were married, and they had 2 kids. They were both daughters. Okay, so when he died, he already had 2 daughters. Jaehaerys, his brother, became king because he's a boy, right? Jaehaerys is married to his sister, very young. They had a ton of kids. Okay, so then the whole issue, Aemon's crown prince, he dies, well, he's still king. Balon's crown prince, he dies, well, he's still king. They have to decide between Rhaenys and Viserys. He ended up choosing Viserys to be the next king. When we ended, Jaehaerys was still alive. Okay, that's an important note. So Jaehaerys is getting very old. He starts to not really be able to do the king stuff that he's supposed to do anymore. He's bedridden, and he makes Otto Hightower. I don't know if you remember the Hightower family from Old Town in the beginning. They've been around. He makes Otto Hightower his hand. The hand is like the hand. He's like his right hand man. Otto Hightower is Jafar. Anyway, he has a daughter. Her name is Alicent, and she reads to King Jaehaerys every night and like takes care of him. Some people were like whispering about them, but I don't think anything ever went down between them. Anyway, Jaehaerys ends up dying. Viserys becomes king. Most people like him. Things go pretty well for him. He marries his cousin. As it happens, I just wanted to say this too, that Balon's, so Viserys' mother was another one of the siblings. I didn't even put her up there. Her name is Alyssa, but she's another one of them. She's one of the many more. Her name is Alyssa. She had Viserys with Balon. And then, if you would believe it, they have another sibling whose name was Daela, who had his wife. I guess her dad's last name was Aaron, because that's her last name. And the Aaron. I also did not say this last time, but it's very, very important information. It just didn't really come up yet, was that Viserys has another brother who's younger than him, whose name is Daemon. Matt Smith, the doctor. Anyway, he died of old age. Daemon, a note about Daemon. He's kind of a bad boy, kind of a loose cannon, kind of an all over the place. Nobody really liked him, and they didn't like that Viserys, he was next in line until Viserys had a kid. Well, Viserys ended up having a kid, but it was a girl, okay? So nobody really liked that. But he's really smitten with her, and that's the fact. And of course, everyone is, pressuring him to have another kid, because she's a girl. So when they kept trying to have another kid, and she kept having, Emma kept having, Rhaenyra, that's the girl. She kept having miscarriages. She ended up having a boy, but she died in childbirth, and then the baby died 1 day later. So I'm not going to put him up there. So he was a prince for a day, as Daemon called him, because he usurped Daemon as crown prince. But then he died. So very, very, very sad. And this is a horrible coffin. This is world's worst coffin. Oh my god, I'm making it worse. So Viserys is wifeless, and he only has 1 daughter. So he crowns her crown princess, or next in line. Daemon is shook. Daemon's actually not around ever. So Viserys, though, is still being pressured to have another kid. So Viserys does something just so grand. It's just a wonderful, grand thing that he does. And he marries Otto Hightower's daughter, Alicent Hightower. Now, I will say this. Okay, I had to move it over a little bit so you could see what the heck I was doing. Alicent Hightower, beep boop, beep boop, they get married, okay? And the good thing about this is that I don't know if that's how you spell it, being honest. Also, the colors mean nothing. I just don't have the right colors, okay? Rhaenyra and Alicent are similar in age. So when they got married, Alicent was like 15, I think, when she married Viserys. The good thing was that Viserys was looking around for a wife, and everyone was like, why don't you get this family back in it and marry Laena? But Laena at the time was only like 8 or something, and Viserys was like, it's a little young for me. So he ended up marrying Alicent. And they had a lot of kids, okay? Aegon, Helena, Aemond, and they have one more kid, but I'm simply not even going to put him there because I don't think he like ever comes up again. Rhaenyra is potentially a little bit nervous about the fact that she now has 3 younger brothers, and but she's still heir to the throne. Viserys does not change it, much to Alicent's displeasure. She can do no wrong in his eyes, period. He's obsessed in love with her. Not in love, because, you know, don't put it past this family, but he really loves his daughter. So Rhaenyra does what her father did not. And she marries into the Velaryon family. So she's not too young when she marries him. I think they're both, because everyone was really wanting her to get married for a very long time before she did. I think they're both, like, she's definitely over 18. They both are of age. Unfortunately for Rhaenyra's line, Laenor's not interested in her or women, any women. So she does end up having kids. She has, 3 kids, I think? But they don't look anything like Laenor. And they don't look anything like Targaryens at all. You know, white hair, purple eyes, none of that. They're brown-haired boys. Viserys will not accept it. He says to Laenor, try again next time after they have their 3rd one. Try again next time and maybe we'll get one that looks like you. So the person that they looked like was her bodyguard, Harwin Strong. A girl boss, crown princess with gross little baby half-brothers gotta do what a girl boss, crown princess with gross little baby half-brothers gotta do. The fact is, like, she hates Alicent. Things get heated between her and Alicent, and they make it more, in the show, it's like they make it more of a thing, like they were friends when they were young. It doesn't really sound like they were ever friends in the books, but like they just hate each other because Alicent really tries to get between Viserys and Rhaenyra. And she really wants Aegon to be crown prince. Jaehaerys, which they call Jace, which I thought was like the most hilarious thing ever when I watched the show. Lucerys, who they call Luke, which also I thought was absolutely the funniest thing ever. Joffrey. So these are the brown-haired boysies. The strong boys, as they call them, the strong boys. You're thinking, it's not that big of a deal, right? Because, like, who really cares? They're her kids. No, it was a huge deal. Potentially it's treason if she, like, I mean, she's making these seem like her legitimate kids when they're not, because they're, like, bastard kids. So those are their 3 kids. And Viserys is still alive. He's still king. He's not doing great. Meanwhile, Daemon himself had a wife, but he killed her. It wasn't like, you didn't see it happen in the book, so it wasn't like you knew that he killed her, but he killed her. She's not really a character at all, but she was kind of an awesome lady. But anyway, he is not married anymore, and he marries Laena, the lady who his older brother decided not to marry. We're getting to confusion zone. Daemon and Laena also is not young at this point. They have daughters, I believe twin daughters, Rhaena and Baela. So those are Daemon and Laena's kids, all right? They took it out of the family, they brought it back to the family, right? Classic Targaryens. We're getting to death. Laena unfortunately passes away before the birth of their third child, or potentially in childbirth, but the baby like was never born. Okay, and honestly, I don't remember when this happened, so I'm gonna put it here now. Aegon and Helena they get married and they have kids. Okay, they have 3 kids. Aegon, Helena have Jaehaerys, Jaehaera, and Maelor. They probably don't have them until later, but it doesn't really matter. The fact is they had them. Okay. Aemond, the second son of Viserys and Alicent, gets in a big bad fight with Rhaenyra's allegedly bastard children. Lucerys takes out Aemond's eye. He and Aemond's eye is gone. Harwin Strong, who's not on here, I'm sorry, who's her bodyguard and potentially the father of these children, mysteriously passes away in a fire with his father. And Alicent says, after the eye fight, Alicent says, give me one of your kids' eyes. An eye for an eye, literally. And Viserys is like, wait a second, let's just all get along, right? Viserys, still, Rhaenyra, her children, they can do no wrong. Unfortunately, Laenor also passes away in a mysterious, well, actually it wasn't mysterious, it was a fight between him and his lover. And they, as far as we know, really died. More on that later. And then, so these guys gotta be like heartbroken. Both of their kids married Targaryens, but she's Targaryens or whatever, but both of their kids married Targaryens and then died, okay? And then here's the real kicker to them. Rhaenyra and Daemon get married in secret because nobody likes Daemon, and that's just a fact. As I said, Alicent and Rhaenyra are big enemies. Now that she's married to Daemon, absolute enemy number 1. Rhaenyra has 2 sons via Daemon. And guess what their names are? Aegon, oh my God, and Viserys. Isn't that insane? Isn't that crazy? So let's go faster. We're going way too slow. Okay, so King Viserys dies. Alicent keeps it a secret for a week that he died. Rhaenyra was not even there because she hates Alicent. So she was somewhere else with Daemon. Hanging out, chilling, having a good time, waiting for her dad to die. I mean, she wasn't because she loved him, but she was not going to be hanging out with him because he's like in love with Alicent. And she's not about that. And also she hates, and her kids hate her kids, Alicent's kids. Against Viserys' wishes, Alicent names her son, Aegon, as king. Now, it wasn't actually her idea. It was Criston Cole's idea. Criston Cole is just like a dude. I'm just going to put him over here. He has no connection. He just sucks. Criston Cole, just a backstory about him. He's part of the King's Guard. Used to be good friends with Rhaenyra. She had a big crush on him when she was younger. People in the King's Guard are not supposed to have sex with anyone. She wanted to have sex with him. She propositioned him and he was like, how could you say that to me? I'm part of the King's Guard. I took a vow of celibacy. And he was enemy number 1 after that to Rhaenyra. So now he's like teamed with Alicent because he's like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So he's BFFs with Alicent, and he's like, you know what, Alicent? Would be an awesome, amazing, cool idea is making your son king. And Aegon is like, actually, I don't really want to be king, but then he starts to get crowned. She was there, maybe against her will potentially, and she saw this whole thing happen, but since it was a secret, nobody was going to tell Rhaenyra out at the other place where she was, which was in Dragonstone. I think she was at Dragonstone. And so he gets crowned, and he's actually kind of into it because it's like power and glory and amazingness. And Rhaenys is like, whoa, uh-oh. She breaks out of, with her dragon, she breaks out of the dragon den. Is that what it's called? Dragon den. And she kills a bunch of people, and then she goes straight to Rhaenyra and is like, Rhaenyra, you will not believe this. And Rhaenyra's like, oh my god, my dad is dead. She, of course, is crowned by Daemon. Some people are loyal to her, but a lot are not, unfortunately, for her. So this is the beginning of Dance of the Dragons. The first time when two sides of a fight in Westeros have both had dragons. Lucerys, bam, bam, bam. Lucerys goes to, this is exactly like it was in the show, just in case you're wondering, goes to one of the places to ask for loyalty and to fight with them, and Aemond, with one eye, is already there, and then they both leave, and Aemond's dragon kills Lucerys' dragon while they're both flying, and Lucerys dies. Rhaenyra is majorly big mad by this. I didn't say this yet, but of course this happened on the show as well if you watched it. But Aemond does get the big, big, big dragon which Laena had. Vhagar was Balon's, it was somebody else's first. It was Visenya's, she's not here anymore, but Visenya's, the wife of Aegon the Conqueror. Then it was Balon's, then it was Laena's, and then when Laena died, Aemond kind of stole it a little bit. He was really young. But anyway, he took it, and Arax was his dragon. He's very small, so there was no fight there. Is killed. Rhaenyra, very mad, and this is the part where the season ends. Season 1 ends just at this point. Daemon, he says, you mad, babe? This is not his son, by the way. He says, you mad, babe? I got you. He hires assassins, and they make Helena choose which of her sons she wants to be killed. And after much deliberation, she chooses male or the younger one. No surprise. He was like 2 or something, maybe even younger. And they actually kill Jaehaerys. She starts to lose it after that. She, I think, committed suicide. I'm pretty sure. A lot of the houses swore allegiance to Rhaenyra, the House of the Blacks, as they call themselves, and many to the Greens, which is Alicent and Viserys' line, being Aegon and Aemond. The Blackwoods, Starks, Aarons, Tarlins follow Rhaenyra, and the Martells and Greyjoys saying, I'm not going to follow anyone, get out of here. And Aegon is upset that he doesn't have that many followers as he thought he would. So he gets rid of Otto Hightower as hand, and he hires Kristen Cole, if you would freaking believe it. That guy, yeah, he's still around. He's still around. So Kristen says, let's kill all the dudes that are still around that are potentially her followers. And Aegon says, cool. Okay, and they do. They just do it. Aegon goes out to do some war stuff, invading places. He invades Rook's Nest. Sound familiar? No, because I never mentioned it. Okay, it's not important. But he meets Rhaenys there, Queen Who Never Was, and her dragon Meraxes. Meraxes is pretty big. He takes a bite, or scratch or whatever, out of Aegon's dragon. Both Aegon and his dragon Sunfire are badly hurt. Then they go away. Aemond finds Rhaenys and her dragon, and he kills her with his dragon, Vhagar, the biggest one. So then Aegon and Sunfire, they do survive, but they're both banged up, And Aemond, of course, and Vhagar are fine. So then Jaehaerys dies in battle. Rhaenyra is taking it hard. She takes her dragon Syrax to King's Landing, finally, and she beheads Otto Hightower. She really does it. She says, what the heck? Why are you even alive still? Oops, no, you're not alive anymore. So he's dead, okay? And she has Alicent in prison. And Alicent says, why don't you guys split up the reign? And Rhaenyra is like, why would you even say that to me? Kristen Cole is killed in battle. Ugh, do not like this guy. My skulls and crossbones are getting even better, right? And Daemon goes to find Aemond and Vhagar around where Kristen Cole had died because he knew that they were probably together. So he goes with his dragon and Sheep Stealer, which is another dragon, and Sheep Stealer's rider Nettles, who's like just some girl, and he just goes to find them. Okay, so take note of that. Aegon, aka King Aegon, not this Aegon. He gets back with Sunfire, who's able to fly again. The first thing that he does, Aegon, after he gets his dragon, is he goes and he captures Baela, who is Daemon's daughter via Laena. So then Daemon finds Aemond and they fight on Dragonback, and both of them die. Both of them. So around all of this time, Rhaenyra is not so popular. She's not doing hot because she is simply bleeding everybody dry of all their money because they've been in war for a long time, so they don't have any money. Everywhere is burnt to a crisp. So people can't really be getting behind her in a big way. She is not the protagonist of this story. She is not the heroine. She's not really good, period. Dragons fighting everywhere. Small people dying left and right. Just to add to that, she spirals a little bit because she loses so many of her kids. So people revolt and they go to the small people revolt and they go to the dragon pit and attempt to kill the dragons that are kept there. Rhaenyra's son, Joffrey, tries to ride Syrax. Syrax is Rhaenyra's dragon. I think he's trying to get her out or something, but anyway, Syrax is like, no thanks, my rider's still alive, and kills him. There's 3. So Rhaenyra gets out okay from the revolt, and she gets taken by Aegon's people to Dragonstone, and she gets fed to Aegon's dragon. Yes, they leave one of her legs. The dragon leaves one of her legs. Anyway, Sunfire dies later. Maybe he doesn't like eating queens. Anyway, so Aegon the second, King Aegon, this is Aegon the second, he goes back to King's Landing now that Rhaenyra is dead, but things aren't looking great, as you can imagine, because he doesn't have like any allies left. Cregan Stark lands his army in King's Landing to fight Aegon. But Aegon is actually dead. He's found dead before the army even gets there. And potentially we're thinking it was maybe suicide. What does this mean? Well, Aegon III takes the throne. So the moral of the story here, potentially, of this whole thing, let me get out of the way. Moral of the story of potentially of just the Dance of the Dragon, which is like here down, mostly here down, is that the Blacks, which was Rhaenyra and her side, did end up winning. Because Aegon, her son, became king. Aegon III. So let me write this. He's Aegon 2. He's Aegon 3. We're not counting Aegons that died before they became king. So the Blacks won, but pretty much everybody died. Okay, so and Alicent also dies later of old age. She like goes crazy. So Rhaenyra dead, Daemon dead, Viserys dead, Laena, Laenor, Jacaerys, Lucerys, Joffrey. All of those people on the Blacks side died. So it's really like super sad. So getting to the last parts of the book was the reign of Aegon III. He marries his cousin Jaehaera. He tries to unite things by way of, he chooses a Kingsguard that's like both greens and blacks. He selects Tywin Lannister as Hand of the King. Corlys Velaryon dies. Of old age, actually. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot to do this. The King's Council decides that Aegon's successor should be Aegon's half-sisters, Baela or Rhaena. This really big fever comes around and like hundreds of people die. Tywin Lannister dies, who is Hand of the King. Aegon handles the plague really well. People are impressed by it. Overall, he seems like a pretty good king, like way better than his mom was queen. Anyway, Queen Jaehaera dies from a fall. And we're not really, it just doesn't really seem like it was really a fall, okay? We're not really believing it. They think Unwin Pike, who's the guy who was on the council and literally named himself Hand of the King after Tywin Lannister died. Once They think he has something to do with it because he wanted Aegon to marry his daughter, and Aegon was like, no thanks. Anyway, so he marries his second cousin. She's super, super young, Daenerys Velaryon instead. Then for some reason, the book takes a turn for a very, very long time and follows Alan Velaryon, who is Aegon's Lord Admiral, and later, after Corlys Velaryon died, was Master of Ships. Alan is like the military dude. He's like really good at what he does. He just like fights a lot. He helps solidify alliances around the whole kingdom. And speaking of dragons, if you noticed, a lot of the dragons died in the Battle of the Dragons, and almost like pretty much every single dragon died. You probably have forgotten about this, but this guy is still alive, Viserys, Aegon's brother. He was taken hostage during the Dance of the Dragons, but he wasn't ever killed. And Alan Velaryon, while he's going around making friends, he meets a Tyroshi mercenary who tells him that Viserys is still alive and being held captive in Lys. So Alan goes right away and gets Viserys and brings Viserys to Aegon, and it's like the most amazing homecoming, and Aegon is so happy. Aegon's line of succession is doing well because he has Viserys back. Viserys has a wife, Lara, who's Lysine, and they have a son together. So his line is doing really well. Okay, he doesn't have any kids yet though because Daenerys is really young. Okay, so but Viserys is back, so Viserys technically would take over for Baela or Rhaena. Okay, so Unwin resigns as Hand and he goes back home, and then Thaddeus Rowan becomes Hand. He was really good. Things were really well. They called it the Lysine Spring. Everything was going very, very nicely. And then everything starts to go bad because Aegon wants to get rid of all the dragon eggs. He wants to really like not have any dragons around, and Viserys has a dragon egg that he's like had for a very long time that has not hatched. So they fight, and then Queen Daenerys is poisoned. It's shocking, insane, but she survives. But the thing she was poisoned with was tears of lice, which comes from lice, which is where his wife is from, Viserys' wife. Shocking, insane, right? So a bunch of people are arrested because of this, Laura's brother included, and Thaddeus Rowan. Not a great look. So he gets another hand. His name is Marston Water, and then he arrests Laura, Viserys' wife. Then they have a secret siege. Marston is like a bad guy, and there's like fighting going on, but I think the small people like potentially didn't know about it. That's why they call it a secret siege. And then it comes out that Thaddeus Rowan conspired to poison the king, legit the king, and Aegon doesn't believe it. But he's like, somebody surely put you up to this. Anyway, a lot of people are arrested. Marston kind of switches sides, and a lot of conspirators die. And the siege ends after Aegon sends out ravens to all his BFF lords and is like, hey, come fight. And they're like, well, the people who were doing the secret siege were like, we really don't want to fight. So then they don't fight, and then that's that. It's over. So then Torrhen Manderly becomes Hand of the King. Also, the reason the Hand has been having so much power and they're kind of like important while Aegon has been around is that Aegon actually hasn't been king this whole time. He's actually still under 16. That's why his wife is really young too. That's why he hasn't had any kids yet. He's under 16. He's been having his regency. And so the Hand is his regent, plus some other guys are his regents. And so they have more power than he has. Aegon becomes king when he becomes 16. And the funny part, I like this part. Torrhen goes, all right, Aegon, you're 16. What do you think now? And Aegon says, I think you're in my chair. Savage. And so anyway, the book ends by saying what comes next is the broken reign of the broken king. This has been 1,000 years. I'm still not done. I still have more things to say. Anyway, thanks. Bye.